Hello, Lily.
Hello. I don't know what I think I hit something about switch cam. Okay. We have so many things today.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And also the member.
yeah,
What
the member
member?
meeting.
Yeah.
Ellie.
Good to see you.
Good morning.
Yes.
Hello, let's get her done.
Ellie, your bookshelves are sorted by colors.
Yes, I know. That's a pandemic project. So I understand. I know where everything is here because these are all like my favorite like Asia study books, but I have a whole huge shelf over there and I did the same thing and I don't know where everything is. So.
I am in the basement, so I don't interfere with other people in the house.
That's great. That's awesome. So yeah, are you still in New Jersey?
Yes, I'm still. Turned out I got an MRI about a month ago. I have badly herniated disc from L5 to S1. I think it's being kind of degenerated or whatever. So it's just so easy to get injured, and it's smashed so flat.
Oh my gosh.
It's not much gap between my bones.
That's terrible.
So I'm going through PT and probably will get cortisone shot. And then if that doesn't work, be surgery.
That sounds good. I hope that you're able to get it resolved.
Yeah.
I know that my husband had the cortisone shot and it made it a lot better. He didn't have to get surgery. So hopefully that'll happen for you.
There's hope. At least we know where the problem is now.
So what's the bottom line, y'all? Am I doing the whole thing or am I just doing from, because I have both. I made a second one with everything on it.
Okay, ask Elizabeth.
Oops, somebody's got some extra stuff on in their space, so they're doing some echoing. So
yeah.
But either way, oh, there we go. Hello, hi.
Really see Bob.
Hey, everybody.
Hi. So I wasn't sure what the final verdict was with regard to if you want me to share the whole PowerPoint or just from mine and Lily's. I have two versions. So either way, it's totally up to you, whatever you would like to do.
Well, from my standpoint, I think you could do the entire thing, which is partly technical at the beginning, you know what I mean? The business of running the first few slides, which, it's not hard to run.
All right, well, it's totally, again, it's 100% up to you. Just trying to make it easier for you, because I know I've thrown the monkey wrench into the works with my.
Not at all, but if I could just tell you, Allie, as they say, it's not rocket science. So at 10 sharp, Lily Cheng, who is there with a lovely background, it's beautiful. She's going to say, welcome to another lecture on Chinese American experience and beyond, and then happy to have everybody. And then she's going to introduce me, and I'm going to be slightly repetitive, and then I'm going to these are your slides. Oh, it just dawned on me, because on upcoming events I gave Elizabeth Cheney my title of my talk, and I realized that you have the slide. It just dawned on me. So if you could, if on that slide,
what I can do,
if you wouldn't mind typing in my title of my talk, I'd be appreciative.
Okay, so are you speaking to me?
I'm sorry. I'm talking. Yes, I'm talking to you, Allie, because you have the.
Okay. So where would on which slide, Elizabeth?
Look at upcoming events and go down to November 19th.
Oh, right, title. I see that.
And then change November 19th to November 20th.
Okay.
I just want to interrupt. We don't need to record right now. Let's not record it now.
That, I don't care. No, I don't care if we record or we
Okay,
don't.
so
So
I-
change November 19th to 20th.
okay,
And
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Lily Chang. I'm the director of the Chinese Cultural Center at San Diego State University and also serve as the chair of the board of the San Diego Chinese Historical Museum. We're very happy this morning to welcome all of you to our great session. 大家好，非常高兴各位来参加。Today's session is called Messages Revealed, Symbols Expressed in the Art of China by Dr. Ali Arnell. I'm going to turn this over now to our director of the museum, Dr. Bob Stein. He is no stranger to us. He has been moderating for many of our sessions. Dr. Stein is also the president of the Palomar Rehabilitation Hospital, and he also serves as the chair of the chapter of the local chapter of the American Heart Association. Let's welcome Dr. Bob Stein, who will be moderating the session. Thank you all for joining us.
Lily, I want to thank you for the introduction, and we're all looking forward to this great talk by Ali. I want to mention upcoming events. September 24th, Dr. Lily Chang is going to speak on our China Cube series, number 6, and this is going to be Traces of the Maritime Silk Road. The Maritime Silk Road. That sounds very cool. And in October, on October 15th, we've got Dr. William Ma, who's going to speak about ornamental barbarians. And then November 20th, which is going to be a Sunday morning, where I myself am going to speak, and I think this is going to be the 6th installment on the Jewish experience in China. And this one is entitled Medieval Haggadahs, Kings of Shanghai, and Other Tales of the Jewish Experience in China. This is going to cover about the 15th century to the 19th century. And then at this time, I want to introduce Dr. Yudan Wang, who's going to chat about upcoming events at the at San Diego State's Chinese Cultural Center, and she's going to talk about guidelines for engagement. Yudan?
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, everyone. This is Yudan Wang from the Chinese Culture Center at San Diego State University. I'm thrilled to announce a new upcoming event from the Chinese Culture Center. It's on this September 17 in the afternoon. We will host a traditional Chinese garment fashion talk in our center on campus. So the event will include a Chinese traditional dress history and culture talk and a mini fashion show in our beautiful exhibition hall, which you can see from my virtual background. It's open to all and all ages are welcomed. We will offer a cup of tea and some snacks. So please check our website and reserve your spot. I will tap the message, the website in the chat box later. Next page, please. Okay, here's for the guidelines and engagement of this event. After presentation, if you have a comment or question, you may raise your Zoom hand or write your question in the chat box. Our host will call on you when it's your turn. And before the program starts, we'll take a group picture. And please turn your camera on just before the beginning of the lecture. And after we take the picture, when the lecture starts, please turn your microphone and camera off. That's it. Now it's time for the group picture. Awesome. Please take your camera on and your beautiful smiles here. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. One more for the next page. Okay, camera on, smile. Thank you. Okay, this is my last picture. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to turn back to Bob.
Thank you, Yudan. And we're now going to be having the presentation. And the way it's going to work is, as Yudon mentioned, if you have questions, feel free to write them in the chat box. Elizabeth will keep track and we'll go over your questions towards the end. We're going to have Dr. Ali Arnell, who has a Juris Doctorate from the University of Virginia Law School, who specialized in art of East and South Asia and has given many lectures on this topic. And she's held a number of positions at the San Diego Museum of Art Docent Council, including the chair and including chair of docent training. And Ali was my teacher when I was a trainee at the San Diego Museum of Art. And everything I know, I learned from her. And we're fortunate to have Lily Birmingham as a discussant. And Lily's been a docent at the San Diego Museum of Art for many years, and she's been on the board of our San Diego Chinese Cultural Center. And she currently serves as the director of docent training at our museum. And now at this point, on behalf of San Diego State and the San Diego Chinese Cultural Center, we're going to have Ali do the presentation. I do want to mention about the subtitles. We have Chinese subtitles, and our Chinese speaking friends tell us that these are very accurate, except for when an English speaker attempts to say something in Chinese, which completely befuddles the electronics. And so you've got to bear with us for that. Don't be upset. But having said that, Ali, we're all waiting for your talk on messages revealed, dragons, phoenix, and other symbols in Chinese art. So Ali.
Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate the opportunity today to be able to talk to you all. And thank you so much again for the very kind introduction. I am so excited to be able to talk to you about symbols in Chinese art, but I would like to start with a few caveats. First of all, when we think of symbols, symbols are images that have meaning. And when we think of Chinese art, which of course is painting and sculpture, but also the material culture of China, so ceramics, metalwork, and textiles, actually they're in the history of Chinese art, all of the art that we see from the vast history has additional meaning. So when we look at a painting of mountains with clouds and a scholar walking through it and some pine trees, there is so much additional meaning there. And in any vessel, anything that somebody might use in their everyday life, there is additional content, additional meaning. So basically, the entire history of Chinese art is filled with symbols. So that is a very large subject matter. And also to remind you, of course, that China, a magnificent civilization, has lasted thousands and thousands of continuous years as a civilization, and has had much territory and many subcultures in that territory. So we are talking about symbols that might change and be different in different times, in different places, with different people who are using them. Additionally, many of the symbols that we're going to be looking at today are homophone. So what I'm talking about is they are, they are pictorial puns, if you will. Many of the words for some of the symbols that we are going to look at sound the same as other words, and that gives them additional meaning. So that's something we're going to see over and over today as we look at this art. Now that I've given you a few caveats, let's start enjoying the art. And I wanted to start here with the bat. And because the bat has meaning that continues through the centuries in China, it was accessible and important to people of different stations in life in China. So, and it still has similar meanings today. Many meanings of some of the symbols we'll be looking at have changed over time, but the bat, many people today understand and recognize what it means. Now the bat, the word for bat, has the same sound as the word for blessings. And so when we look at a bat, this is a wonderful symbol. It is a symbol for blessings. It is not like the bat that people in the West might be afraid of or use for Halloween decoration. This is a very important symbol. This bat, by the way, is made of jade or nephrite, which is a type of jade. And jade also has meaning. Jade is a very highly valued substance in China. It at times was more valuable than gold. And it has many meanings, one of which is because it's so hard, it stands for strength of character. But this bat is a symbol for blessings. But I want you to notice that there's a couple of other things on here. First of all, you're seeing this four-cornered symbol. It looks like the symbol from Germany, but it did not start in Germany. This particular symbol started in India and traveled to China, and it means 10,000. So this bat, blessings, 10,000 blessings. And then you might see a little ribbon here. And in this context, this ribbon means generations. So blessings, 10,000 blessings to your generations, or 10,000 generations. So this is a wonderful gift to give a friend. You're giving them hope for many, many blessings. But understand that symbols can have different meanings if they are in different contexts. And so let's travel through time and place and see what the bat might mean in different circumstances. And here we have a vase. A vase is by itself a symbol for peace. And again, this has to do with the way the word is pronounced and other words are pronounced. So the vase all by itself is a symbol for peace. Now this vase, of course, is in a gourd form. The gourd is a symbol for fertility because it often has, well, of course, it has many seeds, but also a symbol for generations, for family. And so let's look further and see what else we can see. And of course, what you can see are many bats, many red bats flying all over the sky of this vase. And this is a symbol for, may you have blessings as vast as the sky, as vast as the heavens. And then we see a sash, which also indicates generations as well. So this has many, many meanings, and it all comes back to what we are seeing visually. This is a snuff bottle, and snuff came into China in the 1600s. It is usually tobacco and herbs. It was thought to have medicinal purposes. It might be used to clear your sinuses and other things. When it first came into China, it was usually held in very simple containers, but over time, very elaborate containers were made. And this, actually, a gentleman would carry this. This would give him status. And sometimes these snuff containers might be decorated in a way that might tell us a little bit more about that particular gentleman. But we want to talk about bats here, and we see 5 bats. By the way, this is agate. This is a stone. There are 5 bats here, and you can see that they are very abstracted. We often in Chinese art generally see abstraction, and which makes it really lovely to view. And so sometimes I think in the West, you might hear that a certain artist was the first artist to ever make abstract art. That's not true. Abstract art was being made for centuries, for thousands of years in China. But here we have 5 bats, and this is a special type of symbol because when you have 5 bats, that is a symbol for the 5 blessings. And over the history of China, there are 5 things that people really wanted to be blessed with, right? Health, wealth, longevity, love of virtue, which I love that phrase, and death by natural causes. So when we see these 5 bats together, that is what they are implying. That gives the holder those blessings or hope for those blessings. Now we have table screens. These would have decorated a table. They would have been upright on a table. They are also made of jade. And here we have the actual symbol for longevity right here in the center. And then we have 5 bats. Now we know what 5 bats means, right? Health, wealth, blessings of health, wealth, longevity, love of virtue, and death by natural causes. And they're surrounding this longevity symbol. So really all of those things, wishes for all those things and extra longevity. The background is in a very stylized depiction that is very similar to that swastika type symbol that we saw earlier. And so again, that means 10,000. So this is a blessing, many, many blessings in all of these different ways. This plate would have been given to a person, an important person, by the way, on their birthday. This is a beautiful, incredible piece. Look at the peaches and how beautifully they have been painted with that lovely peach pink color running into the green. It really looks like watercolor. It's incredible. But this plate, we only see 3 bats here, but actually there are 5. There are 2 on the underside. We really can't see them here, but they're painted on the underside as we see those peaches are. And, excuse me, and there are 8 peaches in total, including the ones on the underside. So the 5 bats, we know what that means, right? We have our 5 blessings. And in addition, we have these 8 peaches. Well, peaches are a symbol of longevity. And we have 8 of them. Well, they also are reminiscent of the Taoist immortals who also bestow longevity. So there is that connection as well. So we're having all sorts of connections on this one plate with regard to longevity, and a perfect gift for someone who is having a birthday. And the peach, as I said, is a symbol of longevity. Here, this is also of jade or nephrite. It is a snuff bottle, again, similar to what we had seen earlier. And what's wonderful about this particular work is that a bat has been carved into the peach here, so blessings of longevity. And the artist has decided, and very rightly so, to carve the bat in the part of the nephrite that is the darker color. And we see this often in the art of China. Again, jade, nephrite, very important, very hard stone, very difficult to work over the history of its use. And the artist often finds the different colors and uses the different colors in a way to create something interesting. Now we have a fan. A fan all by itself symbolizes benevolence. So when you give a fan to someone, you are asking them to be benevolent. And isn't that lovely? Fans, of course, were used especially in southern China, and they were used by gentlemen. Often gentlemen would paint, gentlemen scholars would paint on them. They might paint poetry. Here we have a painting of crab, bamboo, and hibiscus, a black crab here. Now, here's an example of 3 symbols that when they're together mean one thing and might mean a little bit of a different thing in other circumstances. Now, bamboo, generally, I think many of us know that because it's one of the 3 friends of winter, and it bends in the wind but doesn't break. And so is a symbol for upright character, is a symbol for perseverance in that context. And here, though, with the hibiscus, it is actually a little bit more of a symbol of good luck and good fortune. The crab in this context, this black crab in this context suggests abundant wealth. And so in this context, this is how the symbology falls out. But there are many other meanings for these items that we're seeing here. And that's something we have to consider. I think also a lot of scholars talk about how many meanings that were very well known in the ancient world, and even not in the ancient world, in the medieval time period in China, some of those meanings got lost in the modern age. Now here, again, beautiful jade water vessel. And here we're seeing a kind of a ladle, if you will. And by the way, that is a red coral handle there. And we see a crab, a single crab. Now this would have been on the desk of a scholar. And let's go back to say that for many, many centuries in China, people would study, gentlemen would study for the civil service exam. And they would study, it was very difficult, and they would study very hard for it with the hopes of passing those exams and becoming a government official and having an important position. And so this was an important thing for a scholar to do. This would have been a nice gift for somebody who was studying for their exams, because in this context, we think of the crab, it has its shell, which is its kind of its armor. And armor, that word is, the sound of it is also related to the sound of first. So this is a wish that you will be first in your exams, in your civil service exams. So you can imagine a scholar having this on their desk, and just every time they look at it, every time they take the water to use it to mix the ink, they're thinking, oh, I want to be first in my exams. Maybe we need to be giving this to some of our children for their SATs. But again, you can see that in a different context, the crab has a different meaning. This is just lovely. I'm kind of overwhelmed when I see this. It is a brush washer. So again, this would have been on the desk of a scholar, and it would have been used to wash his brushes as he's making calligraphy. And it is, again, nephrite, and this part is rosewood. The nephrite is actually in a very abstracted form of the sacred fungus. So the sacred fungus of immortality is a symbol of longevity. And you see these two bats. One, again, the artist has done such a great job of finding the dark spots in the nephrite and using the bats, putting the bats there. So there's one here and one over here. These bats, again, blessings of longevity. Now, the fungus of immortality has an interesting history in art, because we will see it depicted as itself. And then we also see it depicted in things like this, still as itself. This is a Rui scepter, and it is in the shape of the fungus of longevity. And here you can see that, right? This is rosewood. Now, in the time that this was made, this was most likely on the desk of a scholar, most likely upright in some kind of container. But so we see that fungus of immortality here, and you can see kind of this interesting shape that it makes. It kind of makes this almost, I can't even really describe exactly how this shape looks, but we're going to see it again. Eventually, this becomes known as the Rui sculpture, so the Rui by itself. And what that means is, and I know that I'm not saying this exactly right. Unfortunately, I do not speak Chinese. I wish I did. But this particular Rui is a symbol for as you wish. So when we see this, and when we see other forms of this on all sorts of media, vessels, on textiles, on all sorts of media, we understand this is a wish granting sign. Here you can see how that fungus of immortality has kind of become more abstract and more stylized on this particular wish granting wand. And here you can see a close-up of that. And eventually these Rui shapes are found on all sorts of media. So this is that. This is as you wish. And eventually these shapes start looking like clouds. So, and I know that, you know, when you think about Chinese art and all different media, you can think of those beautiful clouds and the shapes of them. They originate from this history. And so when we see those shapes, we are really seeing wish granting wishes there on the vessel. That's really interesting and very fascinating. Now, this kind of heritage comes from the Taoist point of view. We believe, though, that those scepters came perhaps from outside of China as part of a Buddhist implement at first. Very interesting. So we need to talk about dragons. And of course, dragons, when you think of dragon, it is the symbol of China, right? And the people of China. And you can think about the centuries, again, the majestic centuries of the Chinese people, and just all of the innovations and changes that they have made, the influence they've made on the world, right? But the dragon also has many very other positive connotations as well. And of course, the dragon here in China has nothing to do with the dragon from medieval Europe. This is a beneficial sign. It's a positive sign when we see the dragon. This is an unusual dragon in that it is standing, and it is from the 7th century. And there are, of course, many depictions of dragons from much earlier in time. The dragon has many, many It's symbolic for many things. And depending on time and place, those ideas can be, that they can change a little bit. Of course, protection, happiness, fertility. Fertility because the dragon is connected with water and for bringing the rains. And in an agricultural society, that's really important, right? So fertility, transformation, changing, often changing. And I want to just show you a few depictions of the dragon in different contexts. Now, this is a valance that would be at the door, and it's really believed that it came from the imperial court because of the color yellow, which was reserved in the Qing dynasty for the emperor and his family, because of the dragons, the way they are depicted. And it's interesting, especially in the Qing dynasty, as the dragons will change in their depiction a little bit, especially on textiles, and you can kind of date it depending on what it looks like. But here you can see, of course, the dragon has 5 claws. In this context, the dragon is really symbolizing the emperor and is symbolizing the fact that the emperor is a son of heaven and is really discussing being the intercessor between heaven and earth on behalf of the people. Notice that the dragon is holding this round globe-like thing. It is a pearl, the pearl of wisdom. We often see him chasing the pearl of wisdom in some art. And in the Qing dynasty, especially in imperial works, we will see the pearl of wisdom depicted with him on the material that we've seen. Again, this color, very much something that would, especially on the sleeves there, we're seeing that color of yellow that would have been important for the imperial court. And a robe, again, with a 5-clawed dragon, that the 5-clawed dragon in the Qing dynasty, especially for most of the dynasty, was reserved for the emperor and for the first princes. And I also wanted to tell you, and you probably know this already, but I'm fascinated by this. The dragon is considered a composite animal. So the dragon has the nose, or the kind of nose of a camel, the antlers of a stag, the ears of a cow, the eyes of sometimes a rabbit and sometimes a monster, the scales of a fish, the body of a serpent. And so he is a combination of many animals together. And I find that really interesting. Just showing you that the dragon, even in the same time period, this is also in the Qing dynasty, can be depicted in different manners. And again, this bowl we know was made in the imperial kiln, so for the imperial court. And this particular dragon giving that kind of he's very dynamic in the way he's moving across the bowl. By the way, this red underglaze is very hard to achieve. So what I mean by that is this red is painted prior to a high firing. And to have this color come out the way it does means that the people who fired this vessel were very, very masterful. I just wanted to expose you to this work of art that was made in China. And we know that during the change from the Ming to the Qing dynasty in the 17th century, there was a period of upheaval, especially in production of China, of ceramics, as we see here. And Japanese ceramics became very popular during that time period. And so this was made in China, but the patterning we see on the outside are very reminiscent of things that were happening in Japan. I just thought that was kind of interesting. And yes, there were many dragon paintings, and we know that this particular, it's posited that this particular artist actually smeared the ink to create this kind of foggy effect. And we also know that the ruler at the time was asking for paintings to bring the rains. And the dragon is related to the rain and to water in this context. And so it is the perfect being to be part of this painting. Look at the wonderful clouds and notice the way the dragon in motion, he is in motion throughout on both sides of the work that we're seeing here. Yeah, connected to water and symbol of nature's elemental forces, absolutely. So I want to back up a little bit to say, here's a pendant from the 5th century BCE. And jade was often put in tombs, often in round discs, and that would be on often the chest of the person who was entombed. Sometimes the person would be covered in like almost a jade armor type of device. And jade was thought to slow decomposition, but also, again, jade, a very important material, very powerful material in China. Also, besides being put in the tomb with folks, they would also be worn. And here we have a dragon pendant that a individual would have worn. And this would have connoted, this would have given extra status to the person who wore it. When you wore your jade, a gentleman wore his jade, and especially in this time frame, he was showing his status. Notice, by the way, this beautiful scales, these curving forms that we see here, and the whole dragon is kind of echoing that form with the body. This, of course, is a vessel that was made, well, it was made in the imperial kilns. So again, in the Qing dynasty, and we have a dragon, of course, we see 5 claws. So we know this is an imperial dragon, looking very similar to the way the dragon looked on the textiles. Notice too, we have peony scrolls throughout here. Of course, the peony, the king of flowers, also represents wealth and honor. And do you see any wish granting as you wish symbols here? Yes, we do. Right here, right? So now we kind of, we understand this added meaning to these symbols that are sometimes called clouds, but have meaning of wish granting. This, by the way, the pilgrim's flask shape that we're seeing here comes from way earlier in time, over 1,000 years earlier, in the Silk Road, during the Silk Road, and was used to carry water in different contexts. They were not in ceramics as we see here. And in China, generally, we do see a reverence for the past. And so in shapes like this, the artist is revering past shapes and past time periods in China. Thinking about phoenix, this is a phoenix from, right around the turn of the Common Era, and it was a roof tile. And the phoenix, again, is a mythical beast, just like the dragon, the king of birds. It has many connotations and many ideas are attached to it, and it depends, again, on how it's being used in the art. But often it symbolizes favor, fortune, and the heavens. It can symbolize the sun. It can symbolize happiness, freedom, and unity of the cosmos. Here's an example from the Ming Dynasty, and you can see that often the phoenix is decorated in many colors, and sometimes is talked about also having a composite form, looking like other birds, and we will see that it is really considered, as I said, the king of birds. It also symbolizes all the things that I wrote here, right? The sun, good luck, abundance, longevity. And what's really important, I think, when we're thinking about the phoenix is that it's said to only appear in times of peace and prosperity. And so I think that's a very interesting thing to think about when we think about the phoenix. But of course, the phoenix becomes a symbol for the empress. And when we see a dragon and phoenix together, through the history of art in China, we are often seeing symbols of both the emperor and the empress. When we get closer to our time period, the phoenix and the dragon may sometimes actually connote the bride and groom in a wedding. And the bride is often called the empress for the day when she is married. I love that. And here is a sedan curtain that would have been part of a sedan that would have transported the bride from her home to her husband's home on her wedding day. It's beautiful. It's beautifully embroidered. And we see, of course, phoenixes that represent, again, that she is the empress for the day. But you might see other emblems of good fortune as well, double happiness symbol, perhaps. And you might see those Rui clouds again, right? So we're remembering wish granting clouds. There are also bats and peaches here as well. So many different good luck symbols and symbols of longevity and symbols of blessings on this particular curtain. Just wanting to expose you because I think it's important to understand that many of these symbols they're depicted in different ways in different parts of China and different times in China. And here we have phoenix that were embroidered onto a fan. And look at how beautiful these neck feathers are. Wow. Look at the gorgeous colors that are being used here. Very different than what we saw before. And again, over here as well, just lovely. Now, the phoenix can also symbolize human qualities of virtue, duty, correct behavior, humanity, reliability. All of those qualities can be symbolized by the phoenix. These are great. These are two hairpins that would have been worn by women during the Tang Dynasty. And you can, it's hard to really see, but there are two phoenixes on these hairpins. Now, the women of the Tang Dynasty, especially the elite women, were able to ride. They participated in sports. They participated in the world. It was actually a wonderful time for women in China. Tang Dynasty generally was an incredible time in the history of China, right? It's a time of expansion and wealth and prosperity, a golden age, if you will. And these hairpins really relate to that. The phoenix is often depicted with birds surrounding it. And here we have the phoenix surrounded by birds. It's very stylized, and there are rocks and other things here as well. There are flowers and other types of symbols here. And that is an indicator that you have a good ruler. So a ruler whose followers, admire him, and he is a good ruler. So you'll often see a phoenix depicted in all media, all sorts of media, with many birds around it. And again, remember, the phoenix is the king of birds. But what's also interesting here is up here, because we're really not going to talk about Buddhism and Buddhist symbols today too much, just because that is a whole nother. As I've already told you, I've bitten off a large thing if we think of the art of China and every symbol that is in every work of art in China. But it's interesting here that we have a wonderful depiction of the 8 treasures of Buddhism. And it's hard really to totally see what's happening here, but I wrote them out for you. So the 8 treasures, here's an umbrella, the conch shell, the wheel of law, the canopy and the bell, the lotus, the endless knot, the vase, remember vase means peace, and the paired fish. So we're seeing several things happening in terms of symbols in this composition. And as I told you before, when we do see the dragon and phoenix together, especially, I would say this is a perfect time when these two together really do connote the emperor and the empress. This is an incredible bowl. It is now in a private collection, and it is a ceramic bowl that has been decorated with enamel on top and then has been fired at a low temperature. And just look at the incredible detail on both the dragon chasing that pearl of wisdom and the phoenix, and how the waves and everything else that we're seeing in here are incorporated into the composition. Just incredible. Another example, again, from a little bit earlier time period. This is a Ming Dynasty. And again, you have the dragon and the phoenix representing the emperor and the empress. And one last, just to show you the variety. I think it's nice to be aware that when we look at symbols in China, there's quite a variety in the way they are depicted, depending on place and time. And this one bowl has, of course, the phoenix and the dragon together. But there are other animals that have symbols. And by the way, again, this is not an encyclopedic discussion of symbols in Chinese art. I think we would need to meet together for the next 10 years to discuss all of the symbols in Chinese art. But I did want to expose you to a few different types of symbols. And here we have the golden pheasant. and is being depicted with the peony, with the magnolia blossom and the crabapple blossom. And this combination definitely has meaning. Remember, again, the vase meaning peace. So the golden pheasant is the bird of prosperity. So that's interesting to know, and that helps us decipher what's happening here. But the peony, of course, is the king of flowers. As I said before, it represents wealth and honor. The magnolia also the same type of indication. And then the crabapple blossom is very interesting because the second character of the crabapple, it's reminiscent of the sound of hall. And so often when you have that symbol in combination with other symbols, it can mean hall, but really it can also mean home. And then it can also mean your generations, your family. Okay, so there are many meanings that can come when you combine different symbols. And here a close-up of what's happening in this composition. And the peacock, again, are also birds that have meaning when we look at the history of art in China. This is actually quite rare sculpture of a peacock, a male peacock here, and a female here. This is cloisonné, or where you have metal, where an animal is put inside and then it's fired. Really a complex process. And there are mushrooms or fungi of immortality here. So the peacock is a symbol of enlightenment. And so when we see the peacock, we can think about that as something that it might be talking to us about, right? Being enlightened. And it may even have a blessing of may the world be enlightened. And the peacock is interesting. It is said to have 9 virtues. And by the way, after I talk to you today, Lily Birmingham is going to be talking to you a little bit about numbers and the meaning behind them. But those 9 virtues I think are very interesting. So I wrote them out for you. Dignified appearance, yes, right? Clear voice. We always know when a peacock is talking. Walks with grace, punctual, restrained in its appetite, content, loyal, moral, and learns from mistakes. So that's a wonderful group of attributes to have. And birds combined with certain plants have meaning. So this is a magpie and a plum blossom. And we know that the plum blossom, again, is one of the 3 friends of winter. So it perseveres, it blooms when it's still winter time, and sometimes when there's still snow on the ground. So it's a symbol of perseverance. And in this context, though, it has a little bit more playful connotation when it is pictured with a magpie, because there again is a sound in the when we say plum blossom that also relates to eyebrows, and so happiness up to one's eyebrows. Not very, very interesting, but okay. Now here we have birds with ribbon tails. And when you have birds with ribbon tails, they're often symbols of longevity. We also have the peony here. The peony, again, a symbol of wealth and honor, the king of flowers. And we also have crabapple blossoms. So this may mean may the entire family be wealthy and honored, as well as enjoy longevity. And remember, when we have the crabapple blossom, we often think of the word hall, and then we think of home, and then we think of family. And that's really how we're getting that. By the way, does anybody see any as you wish symbols here? Right? We're seeing them everywhere. The crane is most widely known as the symbol of longevity. And here it is in jade again, and it is standing with a fungus of immortality. So that's double longevity there. It also, though, when you have 2 cranes paired, as we have here again, in beautiful metalwork sculptures that we're seeing now in a private collection, they are actually a symbol of long and happy marriage. So if somebody's getting married, you can give them a pair of cranes to show, to wish them a long and happy marriage. And when a crane is carrying a marigold blossom, which we're seeing here, this is very interesting. What we're going to discuss in terms of what this all means, what we're seeing. We're also seeing a clump of bamboo here. So it's a combination of ideas. So the marigold symbolizes 10,000 longevity. That's quite a long time, right, of living long life. The clump of bamboo here symbolize congratulations and longevity, which is interesting, right? And the so together, and the crane, of course, symbolize longevity. And this is something that someone might get for a birthday gift. You might give somebody who is having a birthday this particular gift that is really wishing them, congratulating them on their birthday and wishing them many, many years of life after their birthday. There you go. That's what it might say to a person who is receiving it. This plate is just absolutely fantastic. It is full of symbols of longevity. And so again, would be a nice plate to receive on a birthday. Here you have a mountain with the fungus of immortality growing out of it. You have cranes flying, of course, the fungus of immortality, a symbol for longevity, cranes flying in the air, a symbol for longevity, the longevity's actual character. And then we also have peaches that are symbols of longevity. So you can have a variety of these symbols in one work of art. Birds and flowers are often paired purposefully together and often are paired over and over in the same way. Here we have two mandarin ducks that are thought to actually mate for life, and they are in a lotus, a pond with lotus blossoms and leaves. And when they are pictured this way, this is a hope for a happy and long marriage, but also for many children, because the lotus blossom, the lotus is considered in some cases a symbol of fertility because of seeds that they produce. We know other ideas about the lotus, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. A very early ceramic of two, again, mandarin ducks that are joined. Again, this idea of a happy marriage. And these are nephrite boxes, containers that are mandarin ducks. Again, the same thing. These would have been a perfect gift for a marriage. And when you get married, one of the things people really wish for you is to have many children, especially many sons. And here you have a depiction of 5 boys playing around this vase. And often depictions of boys playing is a symbol for, may you have many sons, may you have many children. When you have 5 children, 5 boys playing on a vase, it often can mean, may you have 5 sons who pass the civil service exams. Those exams from earlier time periods in China that would allow a person to have a high rank in government. And butterfly, of course, is a symbol for happiness and joy, and especially we see this in the context of marriage. Here you can see again the symbol that we know is 10,000. We've learned that from our earlier discussions. So wish for 10,000 times joy. Now, in some contexts, in some time periods in China, the butterfly has also been a symbol of longevity, and that was related to its name. So it's a lesser known symbol, but one that is, I've actually found in many references. And so it's interesting to know that some symbols that we see today that we recognize as being one meaning may have other meanings in other time periods and places in China. The 2 fish together, of course, we saw that as a Buddhist symbol, but it also can relate to a happy marriage. It can relate to abundance because fish lay many eggs. So you have those 2 meanings that this could also relate to. Look at this incredible bowl, by the way. It is the color of jade. And as we've discussed, jade is a very important substance in China, in the history of China. So the color of jade was also highly valued throughout the history of artistic production in China. Here we have an inkstone. A scholar would have this on this desk. He would have ink and he would make ink on this. And here we have a carp. And here we have a dragon. And this relates to the tale of a carp who swam upstream and then jumped over the dragon gate and turned into a dragon. And it really is kind of a metaphor for folks who, if you work really, really hard, you may be able to achieve success, right? So you can imagine a scholar having this on his desk as he is getting ready for his civil service exams and being reminded, yes, if I work really hard, I too can turn into a dragon. Another example, here's a carp swimming perhaps upstream with his family members, getting ready to make that jump over the gate, the dragon gate. And here, lovely, this is incredible. This is a nephrite, again, jade sculpture of a carp or a fish actually turning into a dragon. So look at the incredible detail that we have throughout this composition, and you can see it's incredible. It's really wonderful. Deer are symbols for a number of things. Here is a 100 deer, a depiction of 100 deer. And it could mean in this context that someone has gained status in their career, has achieved an opportunity, that they have achieved fortune, maybe even had it conveyed to them. And this could have been, it's conjectured that perhaps this was commissioned in order to be grateful for that. But also when we have the white deer are said to only appear in times of great prosperity, great prosperity in China. And so these two white deer may, in this case, symbolize the emperor and empress in a time of great prosperity in China. A monkey often depicted in art and thought, to symbolize cleverness. In this case, though, again, beautiful sculpture, when on top of a horse may convey a wish for one to receive a swift promotion to high office. Sometimes when we see a crane flying, that also has to do with achieving success as well. Here we have the plum blossom and the bamboo. And again, these are the two of the three friends of winter. They here are symbolizing, the bamboo again bends in the wind but doesn't break, upright character, perseverance. The plum blossom also perseverance, and we're seeing that in this incredibly beautiful, by the way, painting where our eye is guided by the hand of the artist. So we're traveling through this bamboo up and up and up all the way to the top of the composition. This is that moon flask or pilgrim's flask shape that we saw before. It's made in the Qing dynasty. It's an incredible example of a famille rose, or type of decoration that involves, as you can see, this pink decoration. And it also has a symbolic meaning. We have, again, the peony and again, the crab apple blossom. And so as I said before, the tree peony, wealth and honor, the crab apple blossom, hall or family home, right? So when we see the crab apple blossom, we're really talking about the family, the generations, and here may the whole family achieve wealth and honor. This is a 100 flower scroll. So 100 flowers are depicted on this scroll. It's incredible. It's very beautiful. And it is really a symbol of prosperity and good fortune. You can see many of the flowers here. It would be just so awesome to stand in front of the scroll. It is a hand scroll, so it's meant to be seen a little at a time, right? And can you imagine just spending an hour or two slowly unrolling the scroll and seeing all of these incredible flowers? This is also a 100 flower motif. And in the Qing dynasty, there were emperors who had vessels like this made in order to depict a hope that the Qing dynasty would last as long as flowers grew in the world. And look at this amazing, again, the colors here are just incredible. And the depiction of the different types of flowers also very lovely. we're just about done here, and then I'm going to hand it over to Lily, but I wanted to just show you a few more flowers and plants that we see that have symbols. And here, which I think is so great, is a jar with the 3 friends of winter. So we have the plum blossom, we have over here the bamboo and the pine tree. The pine tree, of course, a symbol of longevity. In this context, the pine stays evergreen throughout the winter, so perseverance, nobility, and all of 3 of these plants have really deep meaning in the history of China, and together they're a force. Yeah, perseverance, constancy, and integrity. And these are also values that a scholar would want to also have, right? So they want to achieve those values. Just about done. This vase is just about this big. It is, again, we have an example of a shape that comes from the past. So it comes from bronzes from the Shang Dynasty, 1200 BCE, that would have been put in a tomb. And so there's a reverence here for the past that we're seeing just in the shape of this, but it also has a couple of different types of flowers in here. It has hibiscus and the monthly rose. So with both of those flowers here together, they symbolize wealth and glory and longevity, a wish for wealth and glory and longevity. And I wonder if anybody can see a wish as you wish symbol here. And yes, I bet you can, right down here, right? The Rui symbol. Yes, may you have wealth, glory, and a long life. And then a couple of depictions of lotus blossoms and plants, because we can't think about the lotus without thinking about one of its major meanings, which of course is purity, because it grows out of the mud and becomes this incredibly beautiful blossom. Lovely example here with the blossom in various stages of being opened up and closed, just really lovely. And of course the leaves, beautifully done with the color that's being used here. This is boneless, right? There's no bone, no outlining really in these flowers. And just for a little context, right? Here is a contemporary artist and his depiction of the lotus pond. And our last 2 works of art that I'd like to show you, this first work of art, I wonder if you, now that we've had our time together, if there are a couple of symbols here that you see that you might know what they mean. And here we have peaches, so longevity, right? Gourds, which can mean fertility, but really the generations, right? Do you see a bat down here? Blessings. And this is the symbol for blessings or happiness. So many, oops, and look what's right up here. May you have your wishes, right? That Rui symbol again. And the final one, I'm asking you to look again and see what you can see. And perhaps you will see this 10,000 symbol here, right? And perhaps you will see some bats, yeah. And you'll see peaches. So bats, of course, blessings, peaches, longevity. And maybe you might even see an as you wish symbol here, and many more symbols that are part of these flowers. So with that, I just want to thank you so much for your time and attention. This has been really fun exploring some of the symbols of China and knowing and understanding that every work of art we see from the history of China is going to have other meanings that we need to decipher and learn about. So thank you so much for your time and attention. I really appreciate it.
Ali, I'm speaking for everyone in attendance, and there were over 80 people, and this was wonderful. And we learned so much. I'm so fascinated by the endless number of symbols, which seems to affect, as I see it, the Chinese mentality and the way they think and the way one would actually interact with others because of this rich symbolism. And I've also been thinking about English. Are there symbols in English like this? And the answer is not at all in such profusion. And I think it has to do with the fact that Chinese words are often one syllable, and it lends itself to homonyms. And so the word longevity, that's like 4 syllables. There's just not going to be a homonym for longevity, but a single syllable word would lead itself to other homonyms. I think it's a coincidence of the Chinese language. And it's really enormously food for thought. I mean, this is just one of the most enjoyable Saturday sessions we've had. And we want to thank you for being here, Ali. We have as our discussant, Lily Birmingham. And Lily, I know you're going to talk about numbers, but I'm curious, I've heard of people who wanted to have a certain phone number because it would portend good fortune. And I was wondering if there are numbers that are actually negative also that one would want to avoid. I'm curious as to hear your talk, Lily. So if you want to do that, this would be a perfect time. When Lily is finished, we're going to be asking Elizabeth Cheney and to see what questions have come up in the chat room. And furthermore, we're certainly happy to have anyone raise their electronic hand or write something in the chat, and we're more than happy to discuss it. So Lily, why don't you take it away right now?
Okay, I'm here. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Ali, for a wonderful presentation so far. Ali has my slides, so yeah, right here I'm going to talk about auspicious numbers. A lot of Chinese symbolism are auspicious, good luck. So I will talk about numbers. So simple numbers I have here on this page. 2, number 2. People think good things should come in pairs. And Ali showed you a pair of fish that is good for good marriage. Chinese often say 双喜临门, two comes together as good things, or double happiness arrive at the door. That's what 双喜临门 means. And there's a little symbol in the end. I don't know if you see it, the very corner, upper corner. It's actually the character happiness, 2 together. So it's a double happiness together in one character. And people use that for weddings, just about a standard. You will always see that sign in a wedding ceremony. The next number I talk about is 6. 6 has a lot of stories. A simple way is the Cantonese pronunciation. So this is when we talk about harmonium. 6 sounds like law, and it sounds like a happiness, law, or lu. Lu in Mandarin is lu, but in Cantonese is also law. So number 6 sounds like happiness or good luck and or blessing. So it's a good lucky number, but it also has a deeper, older origin. It's from the Chinese old classic, change classic. You may have heard it, I Ching. I Ching is for about things, the cosmos, everything is changing constantly. It's also used for prediction or fortune telling in the old days. And there's something called a Ba Gua. You probably heard it before. They're the Chinese trigrams. It's used for fortune telling. In the ancient days, emperor would do that to ask for prediction of the good day to go to battle or to plant or for harvesting. And common people may use this to ask for a good day for opening the business or for a wedding. So number 6 in this I Ching, 1 6 is actually most negative, but you have 2 6, double 6s, then it becomes negative, it's positive. So it becomes the best of the best. So Chinese says 六六大顺, 6 most smooth. So everything will be very smooth. So 6 is a good lucky number. The next one is 8. You probably heard about it before. 8 is a homonym with fa. 8 is ba, sounds like fa. So fa means make a fortune or prosperity or good luck. And you probably noticed, or somewhere you may have read about the Beijing Olympics. It opened at 8:08 p.m. on August 8th, 2008. So 8 is a very good lucky number. And sometimes people will put 2 8s together because it resembles the character I just talked about on the upper right, the double happiness. So double 8 looks like double happiness. So 8 is really lucky. Sometimes people think if you get a number that has a strings of 8s, that would be even super lucky. There's a story about one of the Chinese airlines actually requested a phone number with 7 or 8 A's. So they think that would make them lucky and make good fortune. The next one I talk about is 9. 9 is also a homonym with the word long time or forever. It's pronounced as 久, 永久, forever. There was actually a painting in our prior special exhibition, the Drum Right exhibition. There's a painting of 9 fish. Fish already means abundance or extra things. So if you have 9 fish, you have abundance forever. So these are all auspicious symbols and numbers. The last one on this page is 10. 10 means perfect. So it's probably the same as Western idea about 10. 十全十美 means perfect 10. Then I guess let's go to next page. I want to talk about the number 100. Ali also showed you about 100 flowers, 100 deer. So these are combination of auspicious symbols. 100 doesn't mean exactly 100. It just means many, many. So you don't need to go count to see how many. The sample of this vessel I showed, you can see some deer spread out in areas, different places. And this vessel is called a 5-colored of 100 deer. 5-color, number 5 also means many. So in Chinese, it means many colors. It doesn't mean exactly 5. So it's 5 colors, or 五彩 just means multiple colors. And as we say, 100 is many. And Ali already talked about deer is a homonym with good fortune or good promotion, good salary, good status in your career. So many, many good fortune is what this is about. Next is another 100 deer. This one is one of Emperor Qianlong's favorite. Since deer has the meaning of good fortune or good career, an emperor always loved to have a good fortune, good career in his reign. So 100 deer is a very, very common topic for paintings. And here you can see multiple deer in all different gestures. They may be, or postures. They may be running, maybe staying, looking around, eating, grazing. So it could be all kinds of postures and to depict many, many deer. And this came from the Qing dynasty. So the title is 100 deer. And here we come to the last one of mine with a slide. This one actually came from the San Diego Museum of Art. Some of you have seen in person or in picture. There are 100 longevity sign or longevity in Chinese is shou. They're actually characters you can probably see. It's the same character in different styles. Some are more square or rectangular, some are more rounded. And there are different styles of writing. Sometimes the artist would add a little variation for the same writing. They also sometimes adapted minority writing just to have different styles to enrich the design. And again, you go count, it may not be 100, it may be more than 100 characters there, but they all mean longevity. And this is a cinnabar lacquer box, so it would have taken a lot of time to paint layers and layers of lacquer, let it dry, and then eventually carve it. So it's a very precious object. It would be wonderful to use this as a longevity gift, or even put, it's actually a container so you can put things inside. So it's all about auspicious symbols. And Bob asked me if they're bad luck numbers or symbols, and they are. We usually don't talk about very much, but the most obvious number is number 4. The reason is 4 in Chinese pronounced as si. It's a homonym with death. So nobody wants to have death in their, anyway, in their surrounding. And as a result, usually in Asia, if you go in an elevator, you probably don't see the 4th floor, or even 14th or 24th or 34th. So as a result, if you see a floor 100, it's probably really the 81st floor and not 100. So it's kind of interesting. Sometimes the elevator will not have number 13 either. That's more of a Western influence. 13 is unlucky, but definitely 4 is unlucky. There are a few, I guess 3 is kind of a, could be good, could be bad, because san could sound like the word separation, san, so it may not be good. But some people say, if you pronounce in Cantonese, san or san sounds like a birth, so that's not bad. So these are other variations. The ones I talked about are more, I guess, more common. And that's, I think that's about it. There may be more unlucky things and there will be more to talk about, but I think I'm going to end right here. So are there questions?
Well, Lily, I will be asking Elizabeth in a second. I'm curious myself. I mentioned it already. Here you have this language slash culture that is so rich in metaphorical substance, and it's so amazing. And one wonders, certainly linguistically, but also behaviorally, in the Chinese persona, would you say that there are any sort of behavior idiosyncrasies related to, in terms of action, related to this deep metaphorical symbolic existence?
I think it's just probably deep in people's mind, and we kind of talk about Chinese words or language is single syllable. So it's a lot easier to have homonym, or because one word can have a lot of meaning. And sometimes you can have different meanings for the same word, or you have the same sound, but they mean differently. So there's, it seems to me, there's more variation to the language itself. So it could create more these symbolism.
Elizabeth, do we have questions for either Ali or Lily?
Oh, I do have 2 questions that took place, or they arrived during Ali's part of the talk. The first is from Gina Christensen. She says, "Thank you, Ali. she'd like to know if you could recommend a book or books or other good references which describe or define symbols in art of China.
Sure. So first of all, just remember that every work of art that you get in the history of China is going to be filled with other meanings than what we normally see. But yeah, I have a couple of books that I think are good starting points. So one is, and I'm not sure if I'm pinned or not, but one is Chinese Symbolism and Art Motifs. This is a 4th edition. I think I actually have a couple of them, by C.A.S. Williams. And it looks like that. And then you're going to see all my studying I've done. This one is called Symbols and Rebuses in Chinese Art by Fang Jingpei. And it looks like this. That's the artist's name. I mean, the author's name. And this one I think is really helpful. It's called Hidden Meanings in Chinese Art by Teresa Bartholomew. And it's organized a little bit differently. So it's organized instead of by alphabetical order of characters, which I think sometimes is very easy. It's a nice way to have it alphabetical order, but this is organized very differently, but still really very helpful. It's organized by motifs for longevity. And I think we noticed, right, or motifs for good marriage and things like that. And I think we noticed there were definitely categories of motifs that were repetitive, right? Longevity, good marriage, blessings, and so on. So yeah, this one also is a very nice one. And then finally, I just have a few books here. I thought this might come up. So I don't have all my books that I use, but finally, this is a really great book generally for flowers in Asian art generally. So not just China, but also Japan and Korea, and also South Asia too. Flower Power, the Meaning of Flowers in Asian Art. So there are just a few books to study up on, but seriously, and this is by Danny Chan. I think every work of art, and not, and again, I think all of the material culture of China is a work of art. So things people use every day in their everyday life, teacups and so on, will have symbols that have meaning. Even the shapes have meaning, even the materials have meaning. There's just deep meaning in really all aspects of Chinese art and material culture.
Thank you, Ellie. Ellie, are we going to be having a 50-question test at the end of this lecture? No.
Yes. No, just kidding.
We're both just kidding. No tests. But this was just a wonderful presentation. And as you know, I got a little bit of education from you during the docent training, and yet even for me, I found this to be enormously educational and entertaining and more stuff. Maybe it's because of my short memory span. Elizabeth, what else do we have?
I am looking for raised hands. I see a lot of compliments from the chat box. A lot of people who, Wendy Wong, such an enlightening lecture, wonderful job. I learned so much and I'm so grateful for this community. We have a question, I think from Judith Crowstell. She's interested to know more about the number of claws on the dragon.
Right.
I think it called her attention about the 5 claws. She also mentions Ai Weiwei showing 6 claws.
Right. So yeah, that's a great question. And there's a lot of discussion about when the 5-clawed dragon became known as the imperial dragon. We know for sure that during the Qing dynasty, the 5-clawed dragon was reserved for the emperor and reserved for the upper tier of his family members. The 4-clawed dragon was in that context in the Qing dynasty. When the 5-claw was reserved for the emperor, the 4-claw was reserved for lesser nobles in that moment. In earlier time periods, much earlier time periods, we see the 3-claw dragon being important. And actually the dragon being depicted with 3 claws as opposed to 5 claws. And then there becomes a moment when there's a shift and we start to see 5 claws, and we're not sure when exactly that became a dragon that would be representative of the emperor. As far as a 6-claw dragon, I haven't seen a lot of discussion about the 6-claw dragons. But we know now that Lily's been telling us and teaching us about the meaning, right, of different numbers. So perhaps there was a meaning behind that. Now the 5 claw, that's the number 5. And Lily talked to us a bit about that. The 5 directions, right? And there's the 4 cardinal directions and then the center direction. So that is a number also that might have kind of combined with that idea of the 5-clawed dragon. But I will tell you that there are instances of 5 objects with 5 claws and on the dragon, somehow one of the claws being taken off or worn away or covered over, so that if it had been taken from a place that it shouldn't have been, it could be sold in other contexts. So very interesting. We do see, by the way, dragons for export late in the history of Chinese ceramic production that had 5 claws. So any other thoughts, Lily? What do you think?
Hello?
I just.
Oh, yes.
No,
Lily.
we have 2 Lilies.
Oh, I'm so
C,
sorry.
yes. Lily C.
I'm here too. I want to thank both Lily Birmingham, Lily B, and Ali for this very wonderful presentation. I also want to add a few things. Dr. Bob Stein, you talk about homonyms. Just imagine Chinese characters, Chinese logographs. There can be 1 syllable, for example, ma, with many symbols, but also with many tones. So you can have a word shi, it may have up to 40 different types of characters and with the different tones. So when Lily B talk about 8, the number 8, which is ba, it's also associated with actually the word fa, which has an F in the beginning, but fa and ba sound very much alike with the same tone, different characters, but fa means prosperity. So not only are we dealing with homonyms, but we're also dealing with a variety of tones, giving it a lot of music to this way of looking at things. So there's also rhythm involved in some of the symbolisms. As I said earlier, symbolism is the Chinese DNA. Whenever you look at a painting, a piece of art, writing, everything else, you see that and also in structures and in architecture, you see a lot of symbols in there. So I think it's a beginning of a wonderful opening. So for all of us who are interested in understanding symbolism in China, together we must understand the 6 arts, the Li Yue She Yu Shu Shu, whereby all these symbols are somehow coordinated and integrated into the work. So Ali, you got a lot more work to do, many books to read, but we are so thankful for what you have done. And of course, I just wanted to say, if you want to study more about homonyms, you also need to study the shapes of these characters and then the sounds of these characters. And then to look at something like the word bat, fu, which actually means fortune, same, but symbols, it could be a fortune. And Ali, you mentioned ru yi, these 2 words, ru yi, 2 words. Both words have very many symbols. One has the heart in it, one has the female symbol in it. So when you put it together, you find all of that. Phoenix and dragon, also multiple meanings. So I just want to be sure that we pique the interest of everybody and we can study more. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you for that comment, Lily. I would like to mention, we're going to have one or two more questions before we close up. But at 11:30, when we do close, I'd like to thank everyone who's listened. And we'll again look forward to our next talks, which are going to be our own Lily Birmingham, who's going to be talking about China cubed and the maritime trade. And then the next month in October, we're going to be having the ornamental barbarians. And then in November on a Sunday, myself talking about medieval Chinese Haggadahs and the kings of Shanghai and other interesting stories. But for now, and then when we're done at 11:30, if the principals would stay on for another 5 to 10 minutes, we'll chat about the session and sort of dissect it. I think it went very well. If there are any other questions, I'd love to entertain a couple more. Elizabeth, what have we got?
At this time, most people in the chat box are expressing thanks. They're expressing gratitude.
Yeah. You know, I feel that this adds another dimension to the art. And in fact, as Ali, as my teacher, always said, the more you learn about something, the more you enjoy it. You enjoy it at a deeper level. And I laugh about Western art, which where critics make an effort to look for hidden meaning. Often there is none, while in Chinese, there often is. I know Georgia O'Keeffe was once questioned about her flowers and said, you know, we think that you have a deeper meaning, and we think that these are anatomical body parts. And she said, they're just flowers. Why are you leave me alone? They're just flowers. But in Chinese, there's always a deeper meaning, I think, in virtually every painting. Would you agree with that, Ali?
Yes. And actually, when I started the research for this discussion, I had one idea, and then I realized how vast the symbolism is. And you know, I think we already realized that, you and I, Bob and Lily, as we studied it being docents, but it's just incredible the amount of meaning that goes beyond the traditional meaning that we might study as you know, scholars of art, right? And there's just so much meaning in all of the work. So I learned a lot, and I think that I should have maybe chosen a less broad subject.
Oh, no. It was, I thought it was just absolutely wonderful, and it's stimulating all of us to read more. I myself, during training, I bought 2 or 3 books on Chinese symbolism, only to find, as you already know, that the subject is overwhelming. And I was saying, holy cow, I have all these books. These are unrememberable. But just a wonderful session this morning. So we'll look forward to seeing everyone in a month, and we want to say goodbye to everyone at this time, except for the principals for today's session, so we can chat for a few minutes. So I want to say bye-bye to everybody, and then as soon as everyone signs off, we'll have a short 5 to 10 minute little section of the session. Okay, so bye-bye, everyone. Love to see you all. See you in September.
Bye. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
Oh, we just loved it.
Thank you, everybody.
Turn this off.
So we're down to 13
I'm
participants.
trying to turn mine off.
I'm gonna
Just leave.
Well, you can just
okay. Is it okay if I stop sharing now, or is
Yep,
everyone?
Yep,
still-
Yes.
Everyone is in the waiting room who, oh dear, I need to make sure that Bob is back. Oh dear, my apologies.
There he is.
So
Bob, I apologize.
No
what
problem.
happened? Did we lose Bob?
He is back.
Bob is back. Unmute, please.
How
I'm
Bob,
back.
come there are people in
I'm
the
back.
waiting room?
I don't know, but as long as we're the only ones on the call, everything is good.
Yeah,
No.
what happens is not everyone is at their computer when we end, so I put the people who are not part of the discussion in the waiting room so that they don't
Oh,